In the quiet town of Eldridge Hollow, Lila Warwick uncovers a shocking truth. Her husband, Gideon, and his sister are scheming to seize her savings. Gripping her son's hand, she faces a devastating betrayal. Can Lila outwit their deceit and secure justice for her family? Or will their treachery shatter her world? There is one detail that only the attentive notice. Did you notice? Subscribe. It will help us make content that you will watch. In the sleepy town of Eldridge Hollow, nestled among rolling hills and whispering pines, Lila Warwick's life seemed picture-perfect. At 32, she balanced her role as a part-time graphic designer with raising her 6-year-old son, Ezra, in a cozy craftsman home. Her husband, Gideon, 35, was a charismatic financial advisor whose charm had once swept her off her feet. Their 8-year marriage, however, was beginning to show cracks, like a photograph fading at the edges. Gideon's younger sister, Veda, 22, was a frequent uninvited guest, her presence a growing thorn in Lila's side. Lila had always prided herself on her patience. She'd built a successful online Etsy shop selling handmade journals before scaling back to focus on Ezra, entrusting the business to a trusted friend while retaining her role as silent CEO. Her savings, carefully tucked away in a private account for Ezra's future, were her safety net, a fact she kept from Gideon, who had a habit of burning through money on impulsive purchases. Their home, warm with Ezra's laughter and the scent of Lila's baking, was her sanctuary. But Veda's visits were eroding that peace. It started subtly. Veda would breeze into their home without warning, her boots tracking mud across Lila's polished floors. "Gideon, your VIP's here," she'd announce, ignoring Lila and Ezra as if they were furniture. Gideon, indulgent to a fault, would laugh and insist Lila whip up dinner for his sister, even when their fridge held only enough for the 3 of them. Lila, swallowing her frustration, would comply, serving Veda while Gideon chatted with her, leaving Lila to clean up the chaos. Ezra, sensing the tension, would cling to his mother's side, his wide eyes searching for reassurance. One crisp autumn evening, as Lila bathed Ezra, Gideon's voice boomed through the house. "Lila, Veda wants a pumpkin spice cake, now!" It was 9 p.m., and the nearest bakery was closing soon. Lila protested, citing Ezra's bedtime, but Gideon's glare silenced her. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," he snapped. Reluctantly, she bundled Ezra into his coat, and they drove to Sweet Haven Bakery. As they waited in line, Ezra's small hand in hers, Lila overheard a snippet of Gideon's phone call through her car's Bluetooth, left on by mistake. "Lila's got money stashed somewhere, Veda. We'll find it." Her heart plummeted. The words stung like a slap, planting a seed of doubt. Was Gideon plotting against her? At the bakery, Ezra's chatter about his favorite chocolate cherry cake pulled her back. They bought Veda's requested cake and Ezra's choice, returning home to find Gideon and Veda lounging on the couch. When Lila set Ezra's cake before him, Veda's eyes gleamed. "Ooh, I want that one," she said, reaching out. Before Lila could react, Gideon slid Ezra's cake to Veda, dismissing his son's protests. "I paid for it, kid. Be grateful you get anything," he said coldly. Lila's blood boiled. "That's enough," she said, her voice trembling but firm. She moved Ezra's cake back, guiding him to the kitchen to eat in peace. Gideon's eyes narrowed, and he muttered to Veda, "She's getting too bold." Lila, overhearing, felt a chill. That night, as she tucked Ezra into bed, he whispered, "Why does Dad like Aunt Veda more?" The question pierced her heart, but she kissed his forehead, promising, "We're enough, just you and me." The next morning, Lila woke to a nightmare. Ezra's piggy bank, a gift from her grandfather where he saved coins for a new bike, was shattered, its contents gone. Ezra's sobs echoed through the house. When Lila confronted Gideon, he shrugged. "Veda needed some cash. It's just a kid's toy." Fury surged through Lila. She clutched Ezra, vowing to protect him. But as she cleaned up the broken ceramic, a folded paper slipped from Gideon's jacket on the chair, divorce papers, already drafted, with her name on them. Shock rooted her to the spot. Gideon had been planning this, but why? Was it about her savings? The pieces began to fall into place. Veda's entitled behavior, Gideon's dismissiveness, the missing money. Lila's mind raced. She needed answers, but first, she needed to keep Ezra safe. As she packed a small bag, a creak at the front door froze her. It wasn't Gideon's usual time to return. Heart pounding, she grabbed Ezra and hid in the closet, listening as footsteps echoed through the house. Lila Warwick's breath caught in her throat as she crouched in the closet, clutching Ezra tightly. The footsteps in their Eldridge Hollow home grew louder, deliberate, as if someone was searching for something, or someone. Ezra's small body trembled against hers. His whispered, "Mom, who's there?" barely audible. Lila pressed a finger to her lips, her heart hammering. The voice that followed confirmed her fears. It was Veda, Gideon's sister, muttering to herself. "Where is it? He said it's here somewhere." Lila's mind raced. What was Veda looking for? The divorce papers she'd found in Gideon's jacket? Her savings? The air grew stifling as Veda's footsteps paused near the bedroom. Lila held Ezra closer, praying he'd stay silent. Then Veda's phone rang and her sharp tone cut through the silence. "Gideon, I can't find her cash cards. You sure she keeps them here?" A pause. "Fine. I'll check the study. But if we don't get that money, my debts are on you." The call ended, and Veda's boots stomped away, followed by the slam of the front door. Lila exhaled, easing Ezra out of the closet. His wide eyes searched hers for answers she didn't have. "It's okay, sweetheart," she whispered, though her voice shook. She needed to act fast. Packing essentials, Ezra's favorite dinosaur pajamas, her laptop, and important documents, she grabbed her phone and called her parents, who lived an hour away in the neighboring town of Willow Creek. "Mom, Dad, we're coming over. I'll explain when we get there." Her mother's voice, warm but concerned, agreed without hesitation. The drive to Willow Creek was a blur. Ezra's soft snores from the back seat, a stark contrast to Lila's churning thoughts. Veda's intrusion and Gideon's involvement confirmed her worst suspicions. They were after her savings, the nest egg she'd built from her Etsy shop and kept hidden. As CEO, she'd funneled profits into a secure account for Ezra's future, a fact Gideon never knew. His financial recklessness, lavish dinners, a new car they couldn't afford, had forced her to keep her success a secret early in their marriage. At her parents' quaint ranch-style home, Lila poured out the story. Veda's entitlement, Gideon's betrayal, the shattered piggy bank, the divorce papers, and now Veda's break-in. Her father, Amos, a retired accountant with a no-nonsense demeanor, clenched his jaw. "That boy's always been trouble, and Veda's no better. Sounds like she's got debts she's dragging Gideon into." Her mother, Ruth, suggested a chilling possibility. "What if they're after your business, Lila? You're still the CEO. That company's worth a fortune." The thought hit Lila like a thunderbolt. Could Gideon know more than she'd assumed? She'd been careful, but maybe he'd pieced together her late-night emails to her business partner, Clara. Lila's Etsy shop had grown into a thriving brand, with a loyal customer base and six-figure revenue. If Gideon and Veda suspected her wealth, they might be plotting to claim it in a divorce. Or worse. Amos handed her a lockbox for her valuables. "Keep your cash cards and papers here," he said, "and we need a plan." Lila nodded, her resolve hardening. She couldn't let Gideon and Veda destroy her and Ezra's future. That night, she tucked Ezra into her childhood bed, his small hand clutching a stuffed triceratops. "Mom, are we safe now?" he asked, his voice small but hopeful. "Always," Lila promised, kissing his forehead. But as she lay awake, a new worry gnawed at her. What if Gideon wasn't just after her money? What if he was planning to take Ezra, too? The next morning, Lila woke to a barrage of texts from Gideon. "Where are you? We need to talk. Veda's in trouble." Ignoring them, she met with Clara over a secure video call. Clara, a sharp-witted lawyer who'd helped scale the business, was appalled. "Lila, if Gideon's pushing divorce, he might try to claim part of your company. That post-marital agreement you signed years ago, did you read the fine print?" Lila's stomach dropped. Gideon had pressured her to sign it after Ezra's birth, claiming it was just paperwork. She hadn't questioned it, too exhausted from new motherhood. Clara promised to review the document, but urged Lila to gather evidence. "If they're breaking into your house, that's leverage. Set up a plan to catch them." Lila's father suggested a discreet security camera, one he'd used at his old office. "We'll install it in the living room. If Veda comes back, we'll have proof." Lila agreed, her mind shifting from fear to strategy. She'd always been resourceful. Building a business from scratch proved that. Now, she'd use that strength to protect her son. Returning to Eldridge Hollow under the guise of picking up more clothes, Lila and Amos installed the camera hidden in a bookshelf. As they worked, a neighbor, Mrs. Delaney, knocked. "Lila, I saw Veda hanging around your house yesterday. Looked like she was trying to get in. Something's not right." The revelation tightened Lila's chest. Veda wasn't just impulsive, she was calculated. Back at her parents', Lila checked her bank accounts. A small, unauthorized withdrawal caught her eye. $200 from a joint account. Gideon had access. Was this a test? As night fell, Lila's phone buzzed with a voicemail from an unknown number. A woman's voice, low and urgent, said, "Lila, it's about Gideon. He's not who you think. Meet me tomorrow at the diner on Maple Street. Come alone." The message ended abruptly, leaving Lila staring at her phone. Who was this? A friend of Veda's? A creditor? Or someone else entirely? Her pulse raced, but she knew one thing. The truth was closer, and she was ready to face it. Lila Warwick's hands trembled as she replayed the cryptic voicemail. "Lila, it's about Gideon. He's not who you think. Meet me tomorrow at the diner on Maple Street. Come alone." The words echoed in her mind as she sat in her parents' Willow Creek home, Ezra asleep upstairs with his triceratops. The diner meeting could be a trap, or a key to unraveling Gideon and Veda's scheme. Lila's instincts screamed caution, but her need for answers burned brighter. She decided to go, but not without a plan. The next morning, Lila left Ezra with her parents, Amos and Ruth, who insisted she take precautions. Amos handed her a small voice recorder. "Keep it in your pocket. If this is about Gideon, you need evidence." Ruth's eyes were steely. "Be careful, Lila. You're stronger than they know." Lila nodded, her resolve solidifying. She'd built a thriving Etsy business from nothing. She could face this, too. Driving back to Eldridge Hollow, she steeled herself for the meeting at Rusty's Diner, a local haunt with checkered floors and neon signs. At the diner, Lila scanned the booths, her heart pounding. A woman in a gray hoodie waved her over, mid-30s, nervous, with sharp green eyes. "I'm Tessa," she said, her voice low. "I worked with Gideon at his firm. You need to know the truth." Lila slid into the booth, the recorder hidden in her jacket. Tessa leaned forward. "Gideon's been siphoning money from client accounts. Veda's gambling debts are drowning him, and he's using you to cover it." Lila's breath caught. Embezzlement? The revelation hit like a freight train. Tessa explained. Gideon had forged signatures to divert funds, but his firm was closing in. He thinks your savings or your business can bail him out. Veda's been pushing him, saying you're hiding a fortune. Lila's mind flashed to the $200 withdrawal from their joint account. Was it a test run? Tessa slid a USB drive across the table. Proof, bank records, emails. But be careful. Gideon's desperate. As Lila pocketed the drive, a shadow fell over the table. Veda stood there, her smirk cold. "Well, isn't this cozy?" she said, sliding into the booth uninvited. Lila's pulse spiked, but she kept her voice steady. "What do you want, Veda?" Veda's eyes glinted. "Just checking on my brother's wife. Heard you're running off with his money." Lila's jaw tightened. She excused herself, citing Ezra, and left, the USB burning a hole in her pocket. Veda's presence wasn't a coincidence. She was watching. Back at her parents', Lila plugged the USB into her laptop. The files were damning, emails between Gideon and Veda plotting to access Lila's accounts, forged documents, and a ledger showing $50,000 siphoned from clients. Lila's anger flared, but so did her clarity. Gideon wasn't just betraying her, he was breaking the law. She called Clara, her business partner and lawyer, who was already digging into the post-marital agreement. "It's shaky," Clara said. "Gideon's lawyer slipped in a clause claiming half your assets, but it's contestable. We can fight this." Lila's next move was risky, but necessary. She checked the security camera footage from her Eldridge Hollow home. The grainy video showed Veda sneaking in again, rifling through drawers and finding nothing. But then Gideon appeared, arguing with her. "She's on to us," he hissed. "If we don't get her money, we're done." Lila's stomach churned. They weren't just after her savings. They were desperate enough to escalate. She saved the footage, knowing it was gold for her case. That evening, Lila took Ezra to the park to clear her mind. As he swung on the monkey bars, giggling, a man approached, Gideon's co-worker, Mark, who'd always been kind. "Lila, I heard you met Tessa," he said, glancing around nervously. "She's missing. Left a note saying she was scared of Gideon." Lila's blood ran cold. Was Gideon capable of silencing someone? Mark urged her to go to the police, but Lila hesitated. She needed more than suspicions. She needed proof that would hold up in court. Back home, Lila's phone buzzed with a text from Gideon. "Come home tonight. Let's talk. I'm sorry." The apology felt hollow, a lure to draw her back. Ruth, overhearing, suggested a bold move. Set a trap. Pretend you're meeting him, but record everything. Lila agreed, her heart heavy but determined. She texted Gideon back, agreeing to meet at their house. But instead of going alone, she called Clara and a private investigator, Sam, recommended by Amos. They'd be nearby, watching. As Lila prepared, Ezra tugged her sleeve. "Mom, are we going to be okay?" His eyes, so like hers, held a mix of fear and trust. Lila knelt, hugging him. "We're unstoppable, Ezra. You and me." But as she drove to Eldridge Hollow, the USB and recorder in her bag, a new fear gripped her. What if Gideon wasn't just after money? What if Tessa's disappearance wasn't a coincidence? The house loomed ahead, its windows dark, and Lila sensed she was walking into a trap. Lila Warwick's headlights cut through the twilight as she pulled into the driveway of her Eldridge Hollow home, her heart pounding like a drum. The house stood dark, its silence unnerving. She gripped the voice recorder in her pocket, knowing Clara and Sam, the private investigator, were parked a block away, watching. Gideon's text, "Come home tonight, let's talk." "I'm sorry," felt like bait, but Lila was no prey. She'd come to expose him, to gather the final piece of evidence for her fight. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of stale coffee. Gideon sat at the kitchen table, his face a mask of contrition. "Lila, I messed up," he began, his voice soft. "Veda's in deep with some bad people. Gambling debts. I was trying to help her." Lila's stomach twisted, but she stayed composed, the recorder running. "Help her by stealing from Ezra's piggy bank? By sneaking into our home?" she asked, her tone sharp but controlled. Gideon's eyes flickered with surprise, then hardened. You're blowing this out of proportion. Before Lila could press further, the back door creaked open. Veda stepped in, her smirk defiant. Told you she'd show, she said to Gideon, tossing a set of keys onto the counter. Lila's blood ran cold. Those were her spare house keys, kept in a locked drawer. What are you doing here? Lila demanded, stepping back. Veda laughed. Just making sure you don't screw over my brother. We know about your secret stash, Lila. Hand it over, and this divorce stays civil. Lila's mind raced. They were cornering her, but she had the upper hand. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, stalling. Gideon stood, his voice rising. Don't play dumb. Your Etsy thing, it's worth millions, isn't it? I deserve half. The admission was a gold mine, caught on tape. Lila's phone vibrated. Clara, texting. We're outside. Sam's got eyes on Veda's car. Keep them talking. Lila took a breath, channeling her fear into focus. You think you can scare me into giving up what I built? You're wrong. Veda's smirk faded, replaced by a scowl. You're selfish, Lila. Gideon's drowning because of you. The accusations stung, but Lila saw through it. Veda's debts, Gideon's embezzlement, they were their own doing. As Gideon stepped closer, his tone menacing, a sharp knock at the door froze them all. Eldridge Hollow PD, a voice called. Lila's heart leapt. Sam had called in a tip, citing suspicious activity from the camera footage. Gideon's face paled, and Veda bolted for the back door only to find Sam blocking her path. The police officer, a stern woman named Officer Hayes, questioned them. Lila calmly explained Veda's unauthorized entries, showing the camera footage on her phone. Gideon stammered, claiming it was a misunderstanding, but Veda's guilty silence spoke volumes. Sam handed over a copy of Tessa's USB drive, which Lila had shared with him. This might interest you, he told Hayes. Evidence of financial misconduct? Gideon's eyes widened in panic, but he said nothing as Hayes took the drive. After the police left, warning Veda and Gideon to stay away, Lila returned to Willow Creek, shaken but empowered. Clara called with news. The post-marital agreement was voidable due to coercion. Gideon had pressured Lila to sign without full disclosure. We've got enough to file for divorce and press charges, Clara said. The USB and your recording are airtight. Lila felt a weight lift, but a new twist awaited. Mark, Gideon's co-worker, called, his voice urgent. Tessa's alive. She's hiding in a motel outside town. She wants to testify, but she's scared Gideon's connected to someone dangerous. Lila's mind reeled. Dangerous? Was Gideon tied to Veda's creditors? She met Tessa the next day at a rundown motel, Ezra safe with Ruth. Tessa, pale and jumpy, revealed more. Gideon had borrowed from a loan shark to cover Veda's debts, promising Lila's savings as collateral. He's in over his head, Tessa said, handing over a burner phone with recorded threats from the creditor. Lila's resolve hardened. She'd protect Ezra and her business, no matter the cost. Back at her parents', Lila devised a plan with Clara and Sam. They'd present the evidence to the police and file for divorce, seeking full custody of Ezra. But as she tucked Ezra into bed, his question stopped her cold. Mom, if Dad's in trouble, can we help him? His innocence pierced her. Lila hugged him, promising to keep him safe. As she turned off the light, her phone lit up with an unknown number. A raspy voice said, "Back off, or you'll regret it." The line went dead, leaving Lila staring into the dark, her fight far from over. Lila Warwick's heart raced as the raspy voice's threat, "Back off, or you'll regret it," echoed in her mind. In her parents' Willow Creek home, with Ezra asleep clutching his triceratops, she refused to let fear win. She'd built a thriving business and a life for her son. No loan shark or scheming husband would take that away. Lila called Clara and Sam, sharing the threatening call. "That's our final piece," Sam said. "We've got enough to bury Gideon and protect you." The fight for justice was on. The next morning, Lila met with Officer Hayes at the Eldridge Hollow police station, Ezra safe with Ruth. She presented the evidence: Tessa's USB drive detailing Gideon's embezzlement, the security footage of Veda's break-ins, the recorded confrontation where Gideon admitted targeting her business, and the burner phone with the creditor's threats. Hayes's expression hardened. "This is serious. Gideon's tied to a known loan shark, Victor Crane. We've been tracking him." Lila's stomach churned. Gideon's desperation had pulled him into a criminal underworld. Clara, acting as Lila's lawyer, filed for divorce and full custody of Ezra, citing Gideon's financial misconduct and Veda's trespassing. The voidable postmarital agreement, coerced years ago, was struck down in court. Lila's business, her Etsy empire of handmade journals, remained hers. But the real battle was ensuring Gideon and Veda faced consequences. Sam uncovered a paper trail. Veda had racked up $80,000 in gambling debts, and Gideon had promised Crane Lila's savings to settle it, forging documents to access her accounts. The police acted swiftly. Gideon was arrested at his office, his face ashen as Hayes read his charges: embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy. Veda, caught trying to flee Eldridge Hollow, was charged with trespassing and aiding Gideon's scheme. Tessa, emerging from hiding, testified about Gideon's theft from client accounts, her courage bolstering Lila's case. The loan shark, Crane, was apprehended in a sting operation, his threats against Lila recorded as evidence. The courtroom buzzed as the truth unraveled. Lila faced Gideon one last time in court. His eyes, once charming, were hollow. "I just wanted to help Veda," he muttered, but the judge wasn't swayed. Gideon was ordered to pay restitution to his clients and $500 monthly child support for Ezra, a sum he could barely afford after his firm fired him. Veda, disowned by their parents for her recklessness, was sentenced to community service and mandated counseling. Lila felt no joy in their downfall, only relief that justice was served lawfully. Back in Willow Creek, Lila rebuilt her life. She resumed her role as CEO, working remotely to grow her business while staying close to Ezra. Her parents' home became their sanctuary, filled with Ruth's homemade apple pies and Amos's bedtime stories for Ezra. One evening, as Lila pushed Ezra on a backyard swing, he giggled, "Mom, we're a team, right?" Lila smiled, her heart full. "Always, buddy." But a lingering question nagged her. Had she missed signs of Gideon's deceit earlier? A surprise came weeks later. Mark, Gideon's former co-worker, visited with a package from Tessa, who'd moved away for a fresh start. Inside was a letter thanking Lila for her strength and a small journal, handmade, like Lila's own designs. "You inspired me," Tessa wrote. "Keep shining." Lila tucked the journal on her shelf, a reminder of her resilience. Her business thrived, and she started a local workshop for single parents, sharing her skills to empower others. One crisp morning, as Lila and Ezra walked through Eldridge Hollow's farmer's market, a familiar face appeared: Mrs. Delaney, the neighbor who'd tipped her off about Veda. "You did good, Lila," she said, handing Ezra a caramel apple. "This town's proud of you." Ezra beamed, sticky-fingered and carefree, and Lila felt a weight lift. She'd faced betrayal, fought with courage, and won through truth, not vengeance. Her family, Ezra, Amos, Ruth, was her true fortune. As they headed home, Ezra tugged her hand. "Mom, can we get a dog? A little brother for me?" Lila laughed, the sound light and free. "Maybe, Ezra, maybe." The sun set over Eldridge Hollow, casting a golden glow on their path. Lila knew challenges might come, but she was ready, unstoppable with her son by her side and justice on her side.